Well, it is official. 2024 was the warmest year on record for Earth and right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This comes after officials from 6 groups, including NASA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, right here in the U.S., as well as Berkeley Earth here in the United States, and then a group from the United Kingdom's Meteorological Office, Japan, and the European Copernicus Commission. But you can see a lot of those details more on the article, but the consensus is more than about 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming compared to that pre-industrial era for human history. It is quite warm, much warmer than we saw in 2023. Then here in the Mid-Ohio Valley, we were a little bit warmer than that global average, around 3 degrees Fahrenheit or 1.6 degrees Celsius of warming compared to that pre-industrial average. Our 2024 average temperature was about 57 degrees here, and the normal for the Mid-Ohio Valley should only be around 54.3 degrees, so much warmer than it usually is. If we look at the numbers look at a graph here, seeing all those numbers, this blue bar is 2024, the red bar compares 2023, what used to be the warmest year on record, and then the black is those normal average temperatures we see for each month. The first half of 2024 was the warmest throughout the entirety of the year. You had differences of more than 5 degrees some of these months. 7 degrees in February was the difference between 2024 and the normal. 5 degrees in March. That did come down a little bit as you got closer to the summer months because it did get warmer, but you still saw either right at or above average temperatures throughout every single month of 2024. 2023, on the other hand, had a couple months where the average was below normal, like in May and June. You can also see a little bit of that as well in the second half of the year. You saw 2024 seeing those higher numbers all the way down. 76 was the average high for July. That was the warmest we saw throughout the entire year. Around 75 in August, and then it finally came out of the 70s, those average temperatures, in September, but just barely. Then we saw those start coming down for the rest of the year, but still very, very, very warm for the entirety of the year. And those warm temperatures led to one of the worst droughts we saw in recorded history for both Ohio and West Virginia. This was June 18th of 2024, only really abnormally dry conditions across the area, but this was before the major heat that we saw in July and August and September that combined with lower than normal rainfall saw us seeing one of the worst droughts in recorded history for both Ohio and West Virginia, seeing those D4, that exceptional category that caused some issues with farming and among other things, and causing river levels to drop across the Mid-Ohio Valley as well. Then if you look at a global scale map here, you can see very few red spots, very few blue spots, those cooler than average temperatures across the entirety of the area here. Only up in Greenland and then down in Antarctica is where we saw some of those cooler than average temperatures. But some hot spots to note was up here in North America, around the Eastern Pacific here, and then over in Russia. This is for global throughout the entire year. But take a look at December. When I move this, got a really heavy hot spots primarily over here in North America around the US, and then over in Russia and Siberia, those really heavy temperatures, that difference upwards of 3 to 6 degrees Celsius is those differences in December, and that really drove us up to that really warmer than average temperatures for the year. So what does that mean for 2025? Well, this was the first year that Earth passed that limit for warming stated by the 2015 Paris Climate Agreement. So given that, some alarm bells are being rung by some climate scientists, but it's not all of them, primarily due to the fact that this is the first time Earth passed that threshold of no return as stated by some of those climate scientists. But some are still hanging on the cautious side, because while this is the first time, 2025 might not hit that for this year. So only time will tell really where we're at. If we start seeing more consistent basis of above that 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming, then more scientists will start agreeing on the fact that we've hit that point of no return. But that uncertainty is still remaining on whether or not we've actually officially passed that point. If you want to see a lot more details in terms of the numbers for this year from those 6 groups that I mentioned earlier, you can take a look down in the article for all of those numbers on what 2024 looked like globally and here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.